Hey there, folks. The podcast, Screen Watching, the hosts, Dan Barrett, Simon Foster. The point of this podcast, we talk about movies, we talk about TV shows. Now, you probably want more information. What movies? What TV shows? Listen in. This is what we've got. Wuthering Heights. It's not Wuthering Heights, okay? I'd be more excited by that. Frankly, all I can talk about is the weather because I'm a man of a certain age. But no, it's Wuthering Heights. It's a brand new movie. It's got that attractive Australian lady. It's got that attractive man who's in it as well. Both Australian, both lovelorn, just looking into each other's eyes for like 2.5 hours. Simon's going to tell us about it. Something which is something a bit dear to my heart is How to Get to Heaven from Belfast. I love getting places. I'm fond of the idea of heaven, and Belfast, haven't been, looks all right, kind of curious. When it's all about that, it's a TV show on Netflix. What else have I been watching? A whole bunch of stuff. Crime 101, a movie that I'm genuinely excited to see. We'll talk about that. The Wrecking Crew, a film that I'm not excited to see. A TV show called The Burbs, which I've seen multiple episodes of. I wasn't excited to see it, but was I excited once I started watching it? Stick around, you'll hear more. And Love Through a Prism, it is anime, it's on Netflix, and I've got at least 3 thoughts I'm going to string together before the end of this podcast. Folks, this is Screen Watching. Let's roll the opening titles and get into the business of it.
This is not like TV, only better.
Television! Teacher, mother!
Secret lover.
What, that's it? That's your movie?
Well, I said that I had an idea for a movie.
All right, so this is the Screen Watching Podcast. Simon Foster, co-host extraordinaire. What's going on in the world?
Dan Barrett, Screen Watchers everywhere. It's good to be back this week. I've had a very upbeat week as the president of the Film Critics Circle of Australia. We had our awards night this week, so I was front and centre of that. And by Jove, it went off quite well, I've got to say. It was a fun night had by Hall at a lovely sort of upstairs function room in the inner city of Sydney, in a suburb of Erskineville, and a fun time was had.
The thing with Erskineville is we all saw that movie back in the late 90s, Erskineville Kings, which I believe starred one Hugh Jackman.
With the huge Ackman, yep.
Yep. Outside of that movie, I actually don't believe that Erskineville exists. Now, yes, occasionally I'll be on the train, I'll go past the sign that says Erskineville,
Yeah.
and I've been to the Urco, which is a pub in Erskineville.
It is, yes.
I've been there a couple of times, actually. Many beers. But outside of that, I don't believe the suburb exists.
It's a very quaint little suburb in a part of Sydney that's not really known for quaint. It's just off the main street of Newtown. And Newtown is a vibrant inner city artistic hub, lots of music, lots of pubs.
Doesn't have McDonald's.
They won't have a McDonald's. No, they refuse. They've got an Oporto, but they don't have a McDonald's.
They've got an Oporto, they've got a KFC, they've got an El Jano, they've got every other chain. But no, we've got to draw the line at McDonald's.
Oh, they put a big Mitre 10 in there. We were also there through the week at the Dendy Newtown seeing something, and they have a giant hardware store in the main drag there, which is no good. Overseas listeners, you're learning a lot about inner city Sydney here.
Also, just putting it out there, that Dendy Cinema in Newtown, I'm going to put it out there, the worst cinema in Australia. I really hate that place. I hate that place so thoroughly.
Yeah.
No, every
Not
terrible...
Too many steps, too much exercise for you?
No, it's the patrons.
Oh, ouch.
Every time I've been to that cinema, every movie has been ruined by the clientele of that cinema.
Are they phone talkers?
Okay, here's the last time. This is where I drew the line. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this again.
Jeez.
I went and saw, there was that movie, it's not Drive, it was the one with, I want to say it's Robert Pattinson, but I don't know if that's strictly true. Actually, no, it's not Robert Pattinson. It's, what's his name? The guy who's in all the Nolan films and I let the games begin.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yes. There's that film where he's in a car, he's driving along for like 2 hours, and it's just him in the car taking phone calls.
Yes.
Really good film.
It was called Eric the Driver. I can't remember what it was called, but it's a great film, yeah. One of the ones that really made his name.
Whatever that film's called, he's great in it. Really solid film. I wish I could remember the name of it because it's a good one. Okay, so he's driving in this film for like 2 hours, and the end of the movie is basically him driving into a hospital.
Sure.
Okay, like, not into the hospital.
Literally
but,
into the,
this is like the
center,
car park
style?
area.
Okay.
But anyway, he gets to the hospital. I'm pretty sure that's where he was going. It's been a bunch of years now. But we've been with this guy for like 2 hours in this car, and then these two people come wandering in a little bit drunk because it's a bit of a Friday night. Because, the cinema's made better by other people being there, apparently. So these two women come in, they're a little bit tipsy, they are giggling away, going, oh, look, I think we've come in at the end of a movie. So they go and sit down a row in front of me, and then just keep on giggling and chatting to themselves about the mistake they've made. And
why
it's
don't
like,
you
guys,
say something?
because I'm like in this sort of thing where I've been like on this experience for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Usually I will talk to people in the cinema and say, shut the hell up, turn that phone off, whatever the situation is.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll usually do that. But
Yep.
like at the end of 2 hours of just sitting there in a car with a guy, like you're not in a frame to do that.
Newtown
Ruined
is
it.
an interesting part of the world to watch a movie in because there is an element in Newtown who are a sort of counterculture, a bit sort of the anarchist mentality of some of the artist types in Newtown. Boy, we're losing a lot of Newtown listeners with this talk.
Oh yeah, I'm really scared about that. Like I think people from Newtown like to think of themselves as being like a cultural sort of, on the edge, like not necessarily elitists, but, anti-elitists. But they're not. If you can afford to live around Newtown these days, like, come on, you're working.
It has been zhuzhed up a lot lately. There's a certain gentrification going on to Newtown, which isn't great for the soul of the suburb, but might be good for cinema going because of those types, if I can say that. They're a bit more understanding of the movie-going culture than your late-night stumblers-inners. Where were we? How did we get to this? Oh, FCCA Awards,
sorry,
yes.
I'm pretty sure that those two ladies that stumbled into the cinema are exactly the representation of the modern Newtown.
Wow. Gee, you have got bad memories. And that was the last time you went there, because that movie's like
Lock.
15 years old.
It was called Lock.
It was called Lock, with an E on the end, yes.
Yeah.
I remember now.
Also, I didn't look that up, just so that people know.
I want to just say thank you to my fellow Film Critics Circle members. We came a few days after the actors, and the actors the Actor Awards, the other big Australian film awards. Boy, that was good television. And they gave all their awards to Bring Her Back, the horror film. Really fine film. I never thought that my membership, the FCCA membership, was going to go for a horror film. We ended up giving most of our awards to the Guy Pearce, prison drama Inside, which is a terrific film. I'm glad it got noticed. But my older skewing membership base also awarded the World War II shark film Beast of War, which was great. Gave them a couple of awards. So I think we understand the local film industry pretty well there at the FCCA, and I'm proud of how it all played out. It was a fun night too. Lots of people turned up. Some industry types had a good evening. So, why weren't you there?
I think I was washing my hair.
That hair on that one night. All right, fine.
Had to be done. Sometimes you got to take the sacrifice.
All right. How was your week? What went down?
Simon, let's go on to reviews. I think we lost people with Newtown, and then we lost people even further talking about film critics. Simon Foster, let's dive into a couple of reviews here. So Wuthering Heights, it's a brand new movie. It's playing in the cinemas now. Can we watch ourselves a little bit of a clip and then hear what you have to say about it?
Clip me up, baby.
What should you do, Heathcliff? If you were rich?
Suppose I'd do what all rich men do. Live in a big house. And be cruel to my servants. Take a wife.
A wife? What wife?
Heathcliff. You're not enough. Not for her.
This is the latest film from Emerald Fennell. She's super hot at the moment. She's come off 2 real button-pushing hit movies with Promising Young Woman and Saltburn, which made me wonder, prior to watching Wuthering Heights, what drew her to a version of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights that would hold sort of that same kind of immediate relevance that those films have, that spoke directly to a very contemporary audience, while definitely not being in a contemporary setting at all. We meet Margot Robbie as Catherine. She's a very shrill, very brattish young woman, and that probably goes some way to explaining why Charlie XCX is on the soundtrack. If you know, you know. Catherine is a poor man's daughter who pines for this status beyond her standing. Trouble is, she has found her soulmate in Jacob Elordi's Heathcliff, who is kind of her adopted brother. We meet them at the start of the movie, sort of thrown together by circumstance, and they create this bond which has grown into a deeply yearning passion in their young adulthood. But he's every bit as dirty and downtrodden as she is. As life tears them asunder, the games they play to defy, then indulge in, and then sort of corrode their bond makes for a very, how can I put this? It's a very tawdry, very twisty. It's quite often unpleasant sort of style over substance film. It's definitely a huge indulgence for the filmmaker. One of the key reasons I can see her making this movie is it because she's at a point in her career coming off two massive hits, and two sort of, water cooler type talking point movies where she can make anything she wants. So she has gone back to make a version of her favorite book of when she was a teenager, and it kind of shows some of the lovelorn glances and the steamy scenes in this feel very much like they're from a teenager's school diary. Having said that, for all the tear-stained cheeks and rain-soaked shirts in this movie, there's very little really sort of searing passion, and there's even less real emotion. I guess much like their very toxic relationship, there are moments of guilty pleasure. And I should point out, as Isabella, who is Kathy's sort of live-in sycophant, who then becomes Heathcliff's dog collar wearing submissive, an actress called Alison Oliver is great. And you'll know her. She was one of the police detectives, one of the Mark Ruffalo's team on that miniseries Task. She was great in that. She's really good in this one. Overall, this film falls short of the potential held in the pairing of Emerald Fennell and the source material. Still certainly watchable, nowhere near as bad as I was led to believe by some reviews. The reviews have been pretty extraordinary. They've run the gamut from 1 to 5 stars. For me...
Sorry, there was a couple of things I wanted to pick apart, but you just sort of nailed one of them right there. It's funny that you say that it runs the gamut, because everything I've read is just like tepid. It sort of seems like it's 2.5 stars.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the early stuff was 1 star, and then there was a sort of groundswell of support for the film and sort of the risks it take, which aren't very risky, but I guess they kind of are in the modern sort of movie-making world. But in the end, it doesn't give you enough of anything to really amount to anything. In a world where we don't really have sex scenes in movies anymore, this one has a couple, but you don't feel that energy and that urgency in the performances, in the material.
Do you feel it in the pants? That's really the question.
Wuthering Heights, or should I say Widening Tights. Look, it's not a film that I'm going to recommend wholeheartedly to everyone, but it's certainly a film that that has an audience that'll probably rate it a lot highly than I will. And I should point out that we saw it last night as we record this at the State Theatre here in Sydney, and Margot and Jacob were both present to introduce the film. And the very carefully curated audience that sat down and watched it certainly screamed and awed at the right moments when he takes his shirt off and when she sort of kisses him for the first time. There was cheers in the audience.
Was there lots of passing of salts?
Yes, there was. What does that mean? But the
smelling salts.
Oh, smelling salts. Ooh, thanks for clearing that up. So yes, I think for a certain audience, maybe for that 14-year-old girl now who Emerald Fennell was when she fell in love with the book, and I've got no connection to the book at all. I haven't read the book, so
you can't even read.
So I'm just commenting it on as a movie, and I think I've commented enough.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've not seen the movie, and none of the reviews I've heard have really got me sort of rushing out to see this. I'll press play at some point.
Are you a Fennell fan? I can't remember if you watched Saltburn or I can't even remember if we talked about Promising Young Woman, but I saw Saltburn and reviewed it. I don't know if you did.
I don't actually remember one way or another, but certainly I've seen Promising Young Woman, I've seen Saltburn, I've seen her season of Killing Eve.
Oh, of course, yes.
The season of Killing Eve, pretty disappointing. but I was never crazy about Killing Eve anyway, so, whatever.
Okay.
Promising Young Woman, you referred to it earlier. I think you referred to both as being blockbusters, or you didn't say blockbusters,
Water
but
cooler hits. They were definitely spoken
certainly
about.
water coolers. Because Saltburn went straight to Prime Video, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it got a proper cinema release.
Oh, no, it went big at the movies.
I didn't. Let's not say Theory's like going big. Like if you think about, say, Promising Young Woman, for example, like that's a film, because I didn't realize how badly it did. So it only did box office about $18.5 million,
Right.
which on a budget of $10 million, not particularly outstanding. And when you consider that you got to pay for advertising on top and whatnot, like that's a bit of a disaster. But she's someone who's got some,
but very buzzy. But
she's got the buzz.
Got
Like
the
there's certainly the
breakthrough.
buzz.
Yeah, the breakthrough sort of, websites and magazine covers and all the stuff you need to get a film out there. So that was definitely there.
What I'm wondering about Ms. Fennell, and sorry, to answer your question, did I like them? I thought Promising Young Woman was good in parts, probably not quite worth the hype around it, but certainly it was interesting enough. And Saltburn, I don't know, the end's pretty memorable, but most of the film kind of left me a little bit cold. I wasn't super into it. But suddenly the vibe around Emerald Fennell was that everyone was kind of really interested in the idea of what she was doing as a filmmaker, particularly when Promising Young Woman came out. When Saltburn came out, people were like, she's interesting. Let's, keep on seeing what she's doing here. But I kind of feel like the discourse around both those films now is not quite as hot as they were when they were actually out. It's, when people had some time to think about what a movie was, and sometimes it's not quite as good as you remember, or your brain is kind of latched into this sort of
Who's even
realm.
talking about them now? I thought,
I'm seeing a fair bit. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just sort of random Substacks I'm seeing around the place. But
maybe in hindsight with this
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think in hindsight, people looking back, they were fine. So it just kind of feels as though maybe that sort of heat is sort of dissipating a little bit on the eve of this film coming out. I'm not sure. She's interesting to watch. I'm kind of curious to see where that goes as a career.
The only other point I want to make about the release of Wuthering Heights this week is that there's two projects out at the moment that take sort of buzzy at junctures in their career type of creative types, that being Emerald Fennell with Wuthering Heights and the new Lord of the Flies adaptation on TV from the guy who did Adolescence, whose name I can't remember. I should have written it down.
Was it Jack Thorne?
All right, Jack Thorne. Yes, let's go with that. Why, when they have all this sway, all this I can make what I want because of the success of my last project, have these two British filmmakers, creatives, writer-directors gone back to the well of their favourite teenage literary books to make Wuthering Heights, which I'm okay with, like I didn't love it, but it's an all right thing, and Lord of the Flies, which I got one episode into and decided, no, I'm done. Now, I should point out that Lord of the Flies is kind of my Wuthering Heights. I've read it a few times.
Because boy, does Simon get hot under the collar when he starts thinking about Piggy losing his glasses.
I love the book, which I first read in high school. I've read the book a couple of times since. The film version is one of my favourite movies of all time. I don't know why, I can't imagine why these two people decide to dig deep into the films and the work that's inspired them and make new versions. The new series of Lord of the Flies, frankly, that first episode is terrible.
I don't really have an issue with Emerald Fennell going to do Wuthering Heights. I think that it's certainly been made into a film before, but I get the appeal in making it. Like, I totally understand why this film exists. I don't understand, I don't know Jack Thorne, and I don't really know what sort of compelled him to want to do Lord of the Flies again. What I really don't understand with that one is that you can't just be a creative saying, I want to make a TV show or I want to make a movie. Often you need to get other people to buy into it to give you some money to go ahead and do this. I don't know who's funding a Lord of the Flies remake in 2025, 2026. I mean, I know who did, obviously, but I do not see the value in doing this. We've had so many adaptations along the way. It's still so boring and tried at the moment. And I went in to press play on that first episode. I was like, I don't understand why I'd be wanting to watch this. I'm sure there's a reason for it. And so I got about 5 minutes in. I was like, nah, I'm just not doing this.
Yeah, I had the same struggle, and I because of my attachment to the material, I wanted to see it out. I didn't like the filming style of it. I didn't like a lot of the kid actors in it. I didn't, and I can see why people would say, "Oh, you've had this extraordinarily insightful hit with adolescence, and you do all this amazing stuff with a young actor. Let's give him 20 young actors and watch him do it all again." He doesn't. Certainly not in that first episode, and I'm kind of against Wuthering Heights being at all relevant. Why do we need another adaptation? And I know every generation needs their Superman or needs their Wuthering Heights or needs their whatever. So I can see why Wuthering Heights is out there. But I agree with you. I don't know what value there is in doing a Lord of the Flies, especially in this way. Maybe that'll reveal itself over the course of the series, but who'll know?
Also, why did they have to gender flip the conch? Why did that happen?
Is that what they did?
No.
And we're out.
Simon, let's move on. There's something which I'm genuinely excited to talk about. It is called How to Get to Heaven from Belfast. And the only way we begin a conversation is to play a clip.
We're dying now.
Nightmare, isn't it?
The whole thing's just awful. She was so young.
I was talking about your outfit. Are they pajamas?
They're treasures.
They look like pajamas.
Robin. Why contact us in the first place? It's been 20 years.
She fell down the stairs, the poor thing.
There's something sort of creepy about this place. It's freaking me out. Calm down.
Everything's fine.
Shit balls.
Wait!
It's not her. In the coffin, it's not Greta. Then who is it?
Look, I don't remember if we've ever discussed it, but are you in as much as the rest of the world is on Dairy Girls?
No.
Did you ever watch it?
Yeah. It's very popular in the household, and it's often been on when I return from an evening's binge.
No. Did you ever watch it? You, Simon Foster?
Maybe 3 episodes.
Oh, Jesus. Jeez, I'm putting down my headphones and I'm walking out. That's outrageous to me. I find that an affront to me and my culture of
Did
Irish
you watch
people.
it? It does not seem like your bag, baby.
I know. Why would I want to watch something which is culturally specific, really, really funny, has really great comedic performances from a
Oh, it's gonna come
talented
back and bite ya.
quad of young women? Like Dairy Girls is, and I'm putting this out there with absolutely no. Sorry, I just saw a really beautiful bird out the window. A beautiful bird is Dairy Girls. Like,
Okay.
I'm not sort of gilding it at all. I'm saying, like, quite honestly, I believe Dairy Girls is one of the top 3 to 5 TV shows of the last decade.
Good Lord.
It is exceptionally
Oh,
funny.
is
Like,
that?
it is such a great little TV program.
Sure.
And
no,
so-
everyone says so.
Well, it is. Just buy into it, Simon. Just acknowledge what we're saying.
Got to catch up on The Wire.
Have you not seen The Wire?
I've never seen The Wire.
I don't even know what I'm doing here. Okay, look. I mean, Dairy Girls is The Wire, but of Northern Ireland.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
With less
So why are we
drug
talking about
dealing
Dairy
and more.
Girls?
Oh, well, we're talking about Dairy Girls because Dairy Girls was created by this very talented writer named Lisa McGee. And so when Lisa McGee is launching her next TV series, off the back of, as I said, one of the absolute best TV shows of the last decade,
Right.
I think it's really incumbent upon, I think, everybody to go, let's take a look at this program, see if she's done it again. I'm putting it out there. I think she's actually done it again.
Wow.
I haven't seen more than a couple of episodes of this so far. It dropped
What's
on
it
Netflix.
called? Sorry, what's it called? Did we mention it? I don't know if we mentioned it.
I mentioned it before we played the clip. It is called How to Get to Heaven from Belfast. It's one of those great overwordy titles, which is going to take a long time for everyone to remember what all the words are and what order to put them in. Okay, but much like what to do. Oh God, what's he? I've been thinking
What
about
to
this
do
all
in-
week. What to do in
What
Denver
to do
when
in
you're
Denver
dead?
when you're dead? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a great old indie title. Sure.
Yeah, like you remember that title. You may not remember that film because it wasn't
Yeah.
really all that much, but great title. But How to Get to Heaven from Belfast, the premise of this one is it's basically my understanding of Lisa McGee when she was writing this is that she kind of wanted to break free of Dairy Girls, but at the same time, she was very much thinking, hey, what would the experience of Dairy Girls be like when they're older, looking back on their youthful selves? And the thing with Dairy
okay.
Girls is that Dairy Girls is very much based on Lisa McGee being sort of a young, well, like a teenager,
Mm.
like in Northern Ireland. So Dairy Girls is sort of about like the sort of final years of, you know, the troubles over there.
Sure.
And like the final episode ends with, you know, what do they call it? Is unification? I don't know. But, you know, when, you know, it all sort of came a proper.
Everything
But
was solved.
yeah, but pretty much she was sort of thinking back, like she was creating sort of her youth again while telling that story. With this, she's sort of telling a more sort of modern story of her and her best friends, okay, and how they sort of feel they would have been viewed by their previous selves, which are kind of the Derry Girls to a certain degree. So this one,
Okay.
because Lisa McGee sort of in recent years fallen into a bit of a love for true crime, this is very much sort of taking a lot of the I wouldn't necessarily say tropes, but certainly a lot of the true crime drama beats that you find in a lot of true crime podcasts and trying to bring it alive in this TV show. So the premise of it is that you've got this, it's a trio of women and they've all gone on to, various lives. The character that's the Lisa McGee stand-in, she has gone on to become a TV writer because again, she's writing like herself into this. So she's the TV writer behind a very popular cop drama, which and I'm going to brief spoiler here. In the second episode, she does win a BAFTA.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So
Shout
she's
out
like,
to the awards body. Nice move there, Lisa.
yeah. Although her friend, when she's like, oh, won this award, she's like, was it the Oscar? And her friend's like, she's like, yes, we won an Oscar. It's very good. Her friends don't watch the show, which they mentioned a number of times, I believe, through it. But you got these three women who, when they were teenagers, there was like a fourth member of their tribe who they fell out of contact with and haven't really seen her since she was a teenager. They get a message, an email saying, oh, she's dead. And so these women who are now like 38 years old, they just sort of, at first it's like, oh, I think when she meets up with her two friends, the TV writer character, whose name is, oh gosh, it's one of those Irish names. They're all very Irish names. It's set in Belfast. Oh, they're
right
all
there in the
Belfast.
title,
Yeah. That's not set in Belfast anyway, but she lives in Belfast. Even she won't admit that she lives in Belfast. That's the whole thing. But she gets into the back of the car and she's like, oh, is this what we're doing now? We're dying? Okay, because this is obviously the phase of life they're all getting into. Okay, and like that's a bit of a flippant thing. And that as a statement kind of seems a bit funny just at the beginning of the show, but stops making a little bit of sense when you start learning about their history. And obviously, as they start sort of considering their friend, you start to see a few flashbacks and it starts to unravel the mystery that sort of united them and separated them sort of as late teens, because something happened. It led to them participating in the burning down of a building. And now one of them is dead. And as they start to engage, they begin to realize that, wait, the friend who's died maybe hasn't actually died. And that something else is going on. It's a different body in there. And so it's this true crime drama, which is a pretty good mystery. But what makes this show sing is just the characterization of these three women all engaging together. It's throwaway lines. It's the way they engage with everyone around. It is proper laugh out loud funny on a regular. In the second episode, just to give you a bit of an idea as to the way that a lot of these conversations go, the TV writer, she returns back to her family home because she wants to access her diaries from when she was younger. She sees her parents and she's like, oh, do you still have those books? Like all the books I used to have. And the mother's like, no, we turned your bedroom into a gym. And she's like, no, you put a CrossFit in there and you haven't used it for years and you're just using it to like air out like laundry now. And like, this is kind of thing. It's like they're sort of treating these moments of sort of great drama, but like bringing that humanity into it and revealing everyone's frailties and their strengths and just being very witty with dialogue. It's absolutely what I'm looking for on TV. I love the show.
Which I had a very, for the bulk of what you were talking about, I had a very pithy question that I was going to ask with regards to, is she sort of not challenging herself? Is she working within the Derry Girls bubble by just sort of telling another version of four lady friends growing up in that part of the world? Then you drop it's also a bit of a murder mystery or true crime mystery, and then I can see the pivot that she took.
If for the rest of her career she was doing nothing than living in a Derry Girls bubble, there are worse things to happen to a TV writer. But no, I think that she is genuinely stretching. She works in like her vibe, but I guess maybe like, and to the very obvious comparison with Lisa McGee is the thing about, say, Amy Sherman Palladino, creator of the Gilmore Girls and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's got they're very similar women in that I think they've both got an interest in music and pop culture and telling stories that are of them. But at the same time, they've got a very distinct ear for dialogue and a very unique approach to the world, very similar pitter-patter with how they approach everything. With this, I think she's very much following an Amy Sherman-Palladino path, which is that, yes, all of her shows are different and show different elements of what she can do, but they're also very much of her as an author.
And before I get emails, I just want to say that I'm not asking that because she's a woman writer writing about women characters. I know that there's been a century of men writers who've essentially written the same script over and over
but
again to
she's
further their
she's
careers.
famous for Dairy Girls, and this is a show off the back of Dairy Girls. I think it's perfectly reasonable to ask, why is it just doing Dairy Girls again?
You know, we've had quite congruously, which I'm going to pretend's a word, have had a week set in Ireland this week. I watched on the SBS On Demand platform here in Australia a 4-part series called Trespassers, which tells the story of a young Irish woman who falls in love with a controversial solicitor. Lola Pettigrew plays woman.
Is it Troy McClure?
The guy. No, it's Troy McClure. And is all caught up in the troubles. Stars Gillian Anderson, actually, in a very sort of un-Gillian Anderson
I've heard of the
role
show. Yeah.
as the mother of this woman she's always drunk and with a cigarette hanging out the side of her mouth and talking tough. So it's lean in terms of character and real forward drama, but the actual interaction of the people on the ground in this troubled part of the world is quite interesting. So it's called Trespassers. So, and we had to put the subtitles on. We had to put the closed caption on because we just couldn't understand what they were saying. It was so Irish.
Look,
But
again,
so good
there's
week
worse
for
things.
Irish set stories. How to Get to Heaven from Belfast is on the Netflix.
Yep.
Trespassers is in SBS On Demand. Wuthering Heights is in cinemas everywhere. And Lord of the Flies, got no idea. Where's that on in Australia? Stan,
We've got
isn't
it on Stan in Australia. It's BBC in the UK.
All right. Hey, you know what we didn't do and what we should do quite quickly here is we have a question that we usually put at the top of the show. And we talked over this question then when we were crapping on about Erskineville. But and this is based on Margot Robbie, ex-Neighbours starlet, who's the Neighbours actor who should have become a bigger deal than they are? Which I think is a really good question. I didn't want to skim over it. So let's quickly address that before we get into the meatier part of the podcast.
Yeah, so look, Neighbours is a TV show. It's been running since, I don't know, pretty much all of my life.
The dawn of man.
I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, I think it started in 1985. So I was 5 years old when it began.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. But
I was 48.
But this is the thing. Like,
I wasn't everyone. I wasn't.
No. You look great considering.
Yes.
Yeah. So through that time, we've seen so many stars come through. And stars, but also people who just didn't go on to anything necessarily. Okay, like some
went on to bigger things, and some went on to become the stars. Some became significant stars and didn't leave the show, like are known for their entire career being as part of Neighbours. And good luck to them. That's a working actor's gig, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tom Oliver sure doesn't regret a second of spending like 85 years playing Luke Carpenter.
Love Tom Oliver. Remember him in Holiday Island?
No.
Holiday Island was a good
So, Simon.
Yep.
Remember, I was 5 years old in 1985.
Yes, I do remember that. But you were watching Neighbours.
So I thought maybe let's discuss some of those actors who maybe had those sort of smaller roles, maybe did a year or two on Neighbours and then went off to, bigger things, or maybe didn't go on to bigger things, but probably deserved to go on to bigger things. And so I
think you're right.
There's one that comes to mind for me. Well, there's two actors I want to talk about here.
Sure, talk it up. Let's go.
Okay. So the one that sort of I think really fills the brief as to what we're talking about here is this Australian actress. Her name's Charlotte, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her surname. It's like Nadeo? Might be a silent C, possibly. She is probably best known for being in the Apple TV program Mythic Quest, which is and the thing is, Mythic Quest is one of these shows where the very premise of it is really alienating, I think, to a lot of viewers. It's set as like the development team of this publisher of like a video game. So it's like a large MMO. type thing.
I
And
know it.
it's sold very much with the idea of, oh, this is like an inside joke for people who love MMOs. And it just seems like it's hyper nerdy. But the actual show
Right.
itself is just this sort of really funny sort of workplace comedy it leans into the fact it's a video game company every so often, but that's not really what the show is. And so all the marketing materials are pretty much just based around it being this video game thing. But she's the young actress in it who just kind of holds the entire show together. Like, it's pretty much her program,
Can
effectively.
you remember her name? What was the name again?
Her name's Charlotte Nadeo. Nicdao.
Okay. I
Yeah.
don't know that
So
person.
she's been, again, this is why we're doing the segment. Like, I just kind of think there's a couple of factors here. She's in the second season of Please Like Me, which is that Josh Thomas
Sure.
comedy from a few years back. There was a COVID era production on the ABC, which was content, and it was like from the viewpoint of a mobile phone,
Right.
the whole thing. Like, it got a bit of attention because it was a bit of an interesting novelty thing being done. You know what? The screen here tells me that was 2019, so maybe it wasn't actually COVID era at all.
Interesting. Who's your other one?
My other one, and look, it completely betrays the idea of what we're talking about here, but I think it's also true. I think Guy Pearce. Like, Guy Pearce has obviously gone on to considerable success.
Yes.
But I still don't think that Guy Pearce is as big and successful as I think he deserves to be. I think he should be even bigger.
Yeah. Guy Pearce has always been for me a character actor type of craftsman within a leading man's body. So I don't think he's entirely comfortable. And he went through that period where he was starring in The Time Machine, and he was starring in, a lot of those movies where he was playing the Hollywood leading man, and he wasn't comfortable in those roles. But I mean, he won, actually, funnily enough, you bring him up, he won the FCCA Best Actor Award this week for Inside, where he's playing this down and dirty prison guy. He has more fun with meatier parts, even when he was younger in things like LA Confidential, than he does with the leading man stuff. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying in that he could have been a Tom Cruise, or he could have been a big Hollywood type star, but I think he's kind of happy where he is.
Like, I don't know if he's happy where he is, but like, he's certainly settled into it. I mean, it's a solid career. Like, I don't think anyone could think that Guy Pearce hasn't lived up to potential. Like, he has, but I just think there's something about the fact that of all the Christopher Nolan movies that exist, he's like in one of those early ones, never really sort of carried through as part of the ensemble. So those things, like, to me, Guy Pearce should be alongside like a DiCaprio, should be alongside, like, it feels like he's just been this, he should occupy more of that pop cultural space in our minds than he does.
Really? You're talking about Muriel's, you're talking about Priscilla, and he's been there, and
But again, like, these are
been
films
at the
that have
forefront.
like a strong sort of cultural footprint, but maybe aren't necessarily the biggest movies when they come out.
Okay.
Like, I mean,
I
we'll be
can
talking
agree
about
with
Guy
that one,
Pearce
but
for
yeah.
many years to come. But I just
Sure.
don't think he's that, like, I just feel he should be bigger than he has been.
Rattling off the names of some of the megastars that have survived the Neighbours universe: Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan.
Yeah, we know all those. Come on, give us a name.
They flew really high, but when you're looking down the list of, I'm going to go with someone who I was always very fond of, and I was a Neighbours watcher, sort of in and out. I didn't tune in every night, but I saw my occasional one. Not really, sometimes. There was a young actress called Madeline West.
Madeline West. She has certainly done her share of Neighbours.
She has. She absolutely has. She played Dee Bliss in the series. Now, I was always very fond of Madeline West. She possesses all the qualities prized by the superficial male, as I am. So I followed her career. I always thought she was set for what Margot Robbie went on to do. She had that appeal. She had that skill. She was very, empathetic and warm with the audience. She got hit by a bus on the streets of inner Sydney. Right at the height of her fame. She was actually hit by the rear view mirror, on the sort of the street side, the curb side. She was waiting at a bus stop, and the mirror hit her, and she had to go. She was out of the profession for a long time because she had to have surgery done on her face to repair all the damage that was done. When she came back, she re-entered the Neighbours universe. She went on to write a book. She went on to be part of a very high-profile sexual abuse case that went to court, and the man ended up going to jail for 15 years. So She's always sort of been in the tabloids and been in the news cycle, but she never became that big star, which I always thought she was going to. So if you're listening, Madeline, I know you're a fan of the show. Good luck with the career. I'm still rooting for you, 100%.
Mm.
That's it
All
for
right.
me.
Simon, very quickly, what else have you been watching? You did see Crime 101, and I'm particularly interested in that.
Crime 101 is a strange beast of a movie, very star-heavy, very star-laden crime thriller, all set in like a dark and dirty LA. And that's what I want to get to. This is a film that's very much of contradictory sort of moments. Chris Hemsworth, who you would imagine being the strapping sort of leading man, he plays this real nervous wreck of a high-end jewel thief. You've got Mark Ruffalo in there, who's this very shaggy dog detective, which isn't a stretch for him, but he practices yoga. He's at odds with his bosses over at this crime spree that's happening on the 101 freeway in LA. You got Halle Berry in there. She's an aging insurance executive who's willing to spin this workplace prejudice she's put into a new career as a heist accomplice. And as I point out, even LA itself, which is usually sun-bleached and very glary on screen, it looks as drab as Detroit in this movie. It's directed by a guy called Bart Layton, and his films, and I'm going back to 2012 when he made this incredible movie called The Imposter, they're all bathed in this mood and menace. Unfortunately, he usually has a more assured hand when it comes to logic and pacing, and that kind of lets him down a bit here. There's some bits in this where I go, come on, that wouldn't really happen. And of course, whenever you're talking about multi-character cops and robbers stories set in Los Angeles, for the last 3 decades, they've all lived in the shadow of Michael Mann's Heat, which doesn't do Crime 101 any favors. Having said that, it's absolutely worth watching to see this cast sort of riff off each other and a couple of terrific car chases as well. So not as good as I was hoping it would be, but certainly passable entertainment.
Yeah, the thing that sold me on it was that everyone's talking about this being sort of one of those great sort of mid-90s Heat-inspired just programmer ripoffs.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
was
up for
hoping it
that.
would be that. Yeah, I sat down with a gentleman last night who was much higher on it than I was, so maybe you'll take more out of it than I did.
Was
But
it
yeah,
Travis?
No, it wasn't Travis. It was my mate Dale, and he was he knows movies, so maybe he's maybe more on his side. So definitely check it out. And that cast, which also includes Nick Nolte being very gruff, Barry Keoghan from the aforementioned Saltburn, he of the Dick Dance. He plays a very nasty piece of work in this one, and if you don't sort of blink at the wrong time, you'll also see Jennifer Jason Leigh in here. So the cast is quality. So yeah, get along and see Crime 101. Feels like an early February sort of movie, mid-February kind of movie when we're trying to fill a few screens, but it's one of the better ones.
Totally up for it. There's the TV series based on the movie The Burbs, which is currently streaming on Binge. Look, I've got no great fondness for The Burbs. I remember kind of liking it a little bit as a kid, but I never really watched it since. Like, it's never become part of the rotation of every couple of years I have to watch The Burbs. I don't think I've seen it since the early 90s, to be completely frank. So
I
went
the
into
other way
this.
around for me. It's a Joe Dante classic as far as I'm concerned. So I've seen it a dozen times.
I went into this not really remembering much at all of the movie. And the TV series, it's perfectly fine. I think my wife's enjoying it a lot more than I have been, but it's perfectly okay. I want to see it through to the end. The mysteries in it aren't really particularly that compelling. Like, it's kind of just feels as though they'll sort of have a minor surprise every episode or two, but they're stretching out very much a movie idea across 8 episodes here, and it's not quite enough to sustain it. You've got a reasonably sort of decent enough cast with the occasional sort of funny perler of a line, but it's just not quite enough. And I was comparing the thing in my mind to watching How to Get to Heaven from Belfast, where both of them are playing around in this sort of comedic, true crime inspired milieu. And the mystery in How to Get to Heaven from Belfast is just so much more compelling. The twist endings on episodes, just genuine twists. And it just feels like the Burbs is just a little bit too empty and doesn't quite deliver. Like, it's fine. I'm inspired to actually want to see it through to the end, which I can't say for a lot of limited series like this. But at the same time, I can't really recommend it. It's just not quite of the stature of other shows currently in the market right now, like How to Get to Heaven from Belfast, one of these shows of 2026.
I, being a huge fan of the movie and only loving it more and more as time goes on, and also being a huge fan of Kiki Palmer, I was keen to see how this played out. You're right. I don't think it's a major work or any kind of intellectually compelling sort of piece of television. It's a good hang show. I guess, I mean, the biggest mystery for me in it is how on earth they cast Kiki Palmer as the wife of Jack Whitehall. They are two diametrically opposed individuals
Yeah,
that
it's
I can't
a weird
imagine.
casting.
It is a weird casting.
They've got no chemistry at all.
They seem I thought they seemed to work well together, and his sort of involvement with the mystery, is playing on me a bit. So I comfortably settled in for 3 episodes, and I'm not rushing back to see the end of it, but I'm the same. I'll see it through to the end, mostly because of Kiki. It doesn't quite go as off the rails stylistically as the Joe Dante film did. This is very much a middle American suburb, and whereas Dante could lean into the cartoonish and the nightmarish a bit more, that hasn't raised its head in the episodes I've seen so far. So I guess it's missing that slightly nuttier edge, but I'm enjoying it for what it is so far.
I don't think there is any chemistry at all between Kiki Palmer and Jack Whitehall, but I think there's tremendous chemistry between Kiki Palmer and the other neighbours that live in a neighbourhood.
Yeah,
so you've
the
got
old ladies and that weird
Paula
guy.
Pell's in this, playing a very Paula Pell type. You've also got Julia Duffy, that people might remember from, I don't know, so many different TV shows and stuff from years gone by. Designing Women's probably the thing she's best remembered for still, but and like she's great, and like there's a genuine, like obviously not a romantic chemistry, but just that sort of screen ensemble chemistry that exists between the three of them and their oddball neighbor who's played by Mark, and I think it's pronounced like Prosh. He's really well known for a lot of offbeat sort of online comedy more than anything else. But like you may have seen him in stuff like The Office. I think he was in Better Call Saul for a couple of episodes. What We Do in the Shadows. He kind of plays around that sort of space. But if you're familiar with On Cinema, like you'd probably very much know him.
It's The Burbs is on Binge here in Australia and the Peacock network over in the US. Very quickly, I saw The Wrecking Crew. This is the big action film starring Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista. Now, I would gather from your immediate reaction then that you have watched this, or are you just doing that thing where you've read the byline and looked at the stars and go, "Oh, I'm not watching that"?
I think you'll find that I didn't read the bio. I just looked at the picture and then put my nose in the air and said, "No, thank you, sir. I am moving on."
You talk so much about classic 90s programmers and why don't we bring them back. So when a really good one comes along, like The Wrecking Crew, and let me tell you a quick story. This is a big action sort of buddy thing where two brothers get back together. They're feuding all the time. They come together in Hawaii to solve the mystery of the death of their father. Total B-movie plotline. So I'm sort of an hour into this movie and I'm going, hey, I'm really enjoying this. And I'm enjoying this in a way that I would not normally be, hooked on an 80s action ripoff like this clearly is. So then I jump on Rotten Tomatoes and it's sitting at like 68 or 70% or something. And I'm thinking, okay, so there's something to this that has connected with people and connected with critics. And in the end, it's a quite engaging, quite violent, but as good as any sort of 80s action rip I've seen in the last couple of years. So do check it out and these two, especially Bautista, who seems to want to be a serious actor, and he has a couple of moments in this when I'm like, yeah, okay, so he's kind of got the chops when he has to bring that to the party as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's on I can't remember where I watched it. What is it?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. There you go.
Now, look, I've given up on Rotten Tomatoes entirely as a metric. The absolute metric
when
that
it
I always look
disagrees
at
with
now.
you.
Well, no,
Okay.
just always. Like I've kind of put this in place a couple of months ago, and I've done this on a podcast a bunch of times. I now refuse to look at Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's just such a variable idea as to what's a hit and what's not. The thing that I'm using as my source of truth now is what is the rating on Letterboxd?
Good. Yes.
Yeah. To me, like that's the metric. And they're giving this one a 2.8.
Yes. And I think I rated it 3.5 on Letterboxd. If I do follow us, we should get a screen watching HQ on Letterboxd. They're very popular.
Anyway, folks, this has been a Screen Watching podcast. We'll be back next week. I think we're still back next week. Yeah,
I think we're still back next week. We haven't missed a week. Well, I've missed a few weeks. You've never missed a week in all the years we've done the podcast. No, you did miss one. No, you missed one when I did a placeholder episode by myself.
And then did I have to edit it still? The answer to that will be yes.
The answer definitely did whenever you came back from wherever you were from. We're called Screen Watching. You can find us on Facebook at Screen Watching Podcast, YouTube at Screen Watching. Give us an email at screenwatchingpodcast@gmail.com. Or, as you mentioned last week, and I keep forgetting to mention, drop some comments into our Spotify page, our Spotify link, and our YouTube channel where you can find this on the video feed. And you can also read my Screen Space newsletter, which I'm about to press publish on as we record this, over on the Substack app.
Yeah, people can find me at alwaysbewatching.com. It's a newsletter that comes out with all the news and information you need about the world of TV, streaming movies, and then occasional other things that you find on screens around the place. You can also find me, on this podcast. I'm on Letterboxd. You can find me producing such great lists as movies better than Paddington 2.
Oh, boy.
Do you want to know what's on that list?
Got to get a job. Hey, what?
Okay, Citizen Kane.
Yeah. I'll give you that one.
Room in Rome.
Room in Rome, yeah. Boy, that could have used Paddington, though. Maybe he was in there.
And also Follow That Bird.
Love Follow That Bird, the Ken Kwapis film.
Is that not a great list?
That's a fine list. That's on your Letterboxd page.
Yeah.
I don't think you're taking it seriously. No, that's good.
Excuse me, I'm not taking it seriously. I've got another list here called Police Academy Films Ranked.
Jeez. Thank God for the internet. What would we do without the internet? R.I.P. James Van Der Beek. We were going to mention it during the show. You're
not going to let me read my list of Police Academy.
I'm not going to unless it's
Police
a list
Academy.
of James Van Der Beek.
Police Academy 4 Citizens on Patrol.
This is so disrespectful. He was in Dawson's Creek, for God's sake. Yeah, list of
Police
films
Academy
starring...
3, Police Academy 2, number 6, number 5, and then finally Mission to Moscow, which is hot trash. Sorry, James Van Der Beek died. Is that what you're saying?
Very sad. Star of Dawson's Creek, also star of the movies Varsity Blues,
Rules of Attraction.
Rules of Attraction, the Bret Easton Ellis one. Yeah, that's right. Very sad. Young family, fuck cancer. It's what took him, and I hate it. But thanks for all the fun memories, James.
Yeah, look, I found myself on ABC News Radio yesterday doing a piece about it. They're like, and now some important conversation about the CFMEU, and now let's talk about James Van Der Beek.
Yep.
Yeah, I know, such a weird experience. But I was asked to put together, a couple of thoughts on that. And the thing that's, I think, sort of one of these sort of struggles when talking about James Van Der Beek and trying to, sort of mourn his passing. Because I don't think anyone, obviously we're all kind of upset hearing that he passed on. But you kind of have to sort of dig a little deep. Well, yeah, 48, it's too young to die. Particularly, colorectal cancer is generally something that affects sort of people, 50 and above. If you're age 50 and above, you should get tested once
Absolutely.
They say once every 2 years. I say do it yearly. I've actually lost a few friends to it. It's horrendous. And these were young people. I was reading the stats about colorectal cancer, and they were saying that while, years ago, it used to be a fairly rare thing for people under the age of 50 to get it, in recent years, it's become the number one cause of cancer-related deaths for people under the age of 50. And they don't know why either, which is
terrifying.
Really interesting. But anyway, get tested, first sign of anything, go and see a doctor. Don't wait. Get the test done. You get to have this great couple of days, and I've done the test. You get to eat nothing but jelly for about 3 or 4 days. It's fantastic. You won't ever want to look at a bowl of jelly again. It's fantastic. But anyway, Simon, the thing with his career broadly is that successful for Dawson's Creek. I think, he became a household name. People knew who James Van Der Beek was off the back of that program.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But the thing with Dawson's Creek is that I always liken it a lot to Beverly Hills 90210 in that both of them were these teen dramas that redefined what a teen drama was. 90210, I think, sort of kind of actually defined teen dramas on TV. Like, there's nothing really like that before. Like, previously, I think the teen drama had been very much a cinema-driven enterprise. And as soon as we've discussed this on a podcast before, but as soon as 90210 came along, like, that kind of killed off the teen drama in the cinema in a really major way and became more of this sort of serialized, like, hyper, experiential sort of teen thing. Dawson's Creek sort of came off the back of 90210, where 90210 got a bit daggy, and I don't think it was out of production by the point that Dawson's Creek started, but it was certainly on its last legs. Dawson's Creek came along and felt really fresh and vibrant. It was really sexy. It had like a cast of people that were much closer to being teenagers than a 90210 cast ever were.
And you're right. It also wasn't as, like, as you say, 90210 became a bit soapy. It was always a bit soapy.
It was always pretty soapy, yeah.
But Dawson's Creek and I would add Party of Five in there as well. They were the two that were kind of taken a bit more seriously.
Actually, Party of Five, I think, might have been pre-Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, maybe. I can't
maybe
remember.
by like about a year or so.
I put them together as being kind of serious, semi-serious, but serious dramas.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd see Party of Five more as being a family drama versus Dawson's Creek, which is teenagers, which is more found family. That's slightly different as genres. They're not actually sort of forced to be together, which is always kind of where a bit of the tension is. But as Dawson's Creek sort of went on, it lasted like 5-6 seasons. The rest of the cast kind of went off to continue being sort of vital parts of the culture in a way that James Van Der Beek didn't. He was that one cast member that was kind of left behind. I think it was just a bit hard to cast. Like, I don't know what you really necessarily do with James Van Der Beek. Some of the things he did early on were him very much trying to push himself in directions away from Dawson's Creek. It did kind of the right thing. I think he ticked all the right boxes for a star trying to break out and try to maintain sort of cultural relevance, but I just don't think he ever necessarily did, which was always a bit of a shame because I think he was always good, but it just never really quite connected. Like, the roles weren't necessarily right for him, or, it just never quite sparked. He wasn't the right man for the right time. And so, having been through his filmography a fair bit in the last 24 hours, like, he's continues to do some pretty, like, solid work regularly through his career. He was in multiple TV series ensembles. He's in the fantastically funny Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, which is this really manic, silly US hangout comedy.
As himself, wasn't it? Didn't he
As
sort
himself.
of play? Yeah.
So he plays James Van Der Beek.
Yeah.
And he plays like a heightened, Hollywood arsehole version of James Van Der Beek. He's very funny.
I remember him having dramatic chops in Varsity Blues and in Rules of Attraction, for sure.
Yeah. But suddenly, like, the 20-odd years following both of those, like, he's continues to go on doing a lot of vital stuff, but just never really quite sort of kicked it in the same way. And I think the best thing that Katie Holmes ever did in her career was going through that Tom Cruise marriage, because it kind of took her off the board for a little while. Like, during those years where, she probably could have followed the Van Der Beek career into, bit roles around the place and whatnot, because she wasn't working, I think it kept the myth of her alive for long enough so that when she was back into the industry, she's been able to kind of come back and still pick up some, like, fairly sort of decent sort of heats behind her.
I think Katie Holmes, and even to a great extent Michelle Williams, came out of Dawson's Creek with everyone wanting to see more, whereas James Van Der Beek, who had the title character in the series and was so defined by everything that went on in that series, he is absolutely not the first actor who's been cursed with a huge on-television role that couldn't be transferred to the big screen stardom.
Bring it back to 90210, it felt like the Luke Perry career.
To a certain extent, yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Yes. Isn't there? Yeah. But very sad to see him go, and as you point out, do get yourself checked in that way. All right, Dan Barrett, we're done for the week.
Absolutely. And if you are over the age of 50, they'll send you out a kit in the post.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah. But you can buy it from, like, your local pharmacy for, I think they're like $20 something.
Yeah. Do it. Get out there. Watching out for the people's health. We are the Screen Watching Podcast. Next week, Elvis. Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, my friend. Are you interested?
I'm very interested in this, actually.
Really?
I do not care for Baz Luhrmann, like, in the slightest.
Yeah.
In fact, I run in the opposite direction. I've never seen.
I know. That's why I'm surprised.
I never saw the Elvis movie, whatever that was called a few years back that he did.
Why are you interested in this then? What's your mind working at?
Well, because it's a documentary and it's not strictly him making a
Well,
a
wait till you
scripted
see
film.
it.
Well,
Okay.
this is kind of what I'm curious about. So I'm very curious to see it. I wasn't able to get along to the preview the other day, which really frustrates me because I was desperate to see that one. But, um, I'm going to wait to see what people have to say. But I'm very keen to see an Elvis doc up on a big screen.
All right. Well, listen in next week. I'll have my opinion on Elvis. Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye.
It's not called Elvis, though. What's called Epic?
Epic. Elvis Presley in concert. IPIC. Epic.
Okay. Folks, we'll see you then.